All right, we'll continue on with Auburn coach Gus Malzahn. Coach, we'll ask you for a brief opening statement, then we'll open it to Q&A. Again, if you'll raise your hand, we'll get a microphone to you for questions.
Well, first of all, we're excited to be back at the SEC Media Day. I believe this is my 6th year here at Auburn. We're looking forward to the season. I really felt like last year we were close, winning the SEC West, which is the toughest division in college football. Coming one game within the Final Four, which was a big goal of ours. And we got a lot of guys coming back. We have the majority of our staff coming back. So because of the experience, we have a very hungry team and really looking forward to getting the season started.
We'll start with questions all the way in the back right of the camera position.
Hey, Coach. Back here. Hey, I know you guys are disappointed to have lost to UCF at the end of last season, but what was your reaction to the team actually claiming to be national champions? And do you feel like that says anything about where the playoff is right now?
No, I really all I can tell you is we didn't play our best game that day in the bowl game. We were very disappointed with that. But you've got to give UCF all the credit. Very good team, very good coach. I don't get into the debate with all that as far as championships and all that.
Go over here to the left side on the second row, all the way to the end.
Coach Deshaun Davis was just in here. I wonder if you could talk about his leadership during his time at Auburn.
Yeah, Deshaun Davis is one of my all-time favorites. This is a guy that tore his knee up his senior year. We just knew there was something special about him. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. He carries himself that way, and he's been told a lot that he's too short, he's too slow, he's too this, and right now he's one of the better linebackers in the SEC, and really he's like a coach on the field. And I know Coach Steele really relies on him a lot as far as all the communication and everything that goes with that. Fine young man, has his degree in hand. He's going to be very successful in life, and very honored to be able to bring Deshaun here with me to represent Auburn at SEC Media Days.
Go down here to the front row on the aisle.
Hey, Coach. I was wondering if you could comment on the headset rule that's going to be implemented this fall. And have you had any conversations with any coaches that like this rule?
I've not heard one coach that likes the rule. There is talk about adding 3 headsets from the 20, which I think is very positive. And like I said a couple months ago, my biggest concern is the quality of the game, because a lot of times you have guys that need to be on the headset just to chart, to put down information that can actually help with adjustments. Obviously halftime adjustments. You have to have all the information, offensive, defensively, and special teams to come together and gather that information. So my big deal was the quality of the game. And I really feel strong that it needs to be that unlimited and let each coach. There's really not an advantage to having headsets in this day and time. And most programs have enough money to have as many as they want. But the 3 is better than 20, but it's going to be a challenge, as far as staffs and the way they operate and the information that they get.
Go to the camera position on the left side, front row.
Coach, you really kind of utilized Jordan Peters last season in numerous different ways, corner, star, safety.
Mm-hmm.
What role do you see him playing this year, and how much do you think he'll contribute?
Yeah, Jordan Peters has the flexibility to play all. He played nickel primarily in the spring. You're talking about a freshman that got big game experience. He made a big play in the Iron Bowl on a 3rd down, and he's a very talented young man. And I know Coach Steele has a good plan for him, but he's flexible enough to play all 3, which most of our DBs are, and that's the way that Kevin likes it.
Go down here on the front row, all the way to the right.
Deshaun said that when he has success, it's usually because Dontavius has had success in front of him. Do you feel like your defensive line, and specifically Dontavius, is overlooked, and how have you continued to make that a strength on your defense?
Yeah, Dontavius is definitely overlooked. There's no doubt about that. He started for 3 years, fixing to be 4. There's just a handful of guys I can remember in this league that he started up front for 4 years on the defensive side, and he's done that, and he's a very unselfish player. Deshaun is exactly right. He creates double teams. He's very good in one-on-one pass rush when he's in a one-on-one situation, and he's one of our leaders. He could have came out early, and I think he had had a good chance of getting drafted. He chose to come back. He's going to get his degree, I believe, here in 2 weeks, and very proud of him. And he's been a consistent leader for us his whole time here.
Go to the camera position on the front row, almost right in the middle.
Coach, Deshaun was in here talking about the game against Washington, being kind of a playoff game right off the bat.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's important regardless because it's the next one for you guys, but how much do you stress the need for a quick start here against a team like that?
Well, I tell you what's going to be a great measuring stick. You're talking about a top 10 team. A lot of people are picking them to be in the Final Four, which they were a couple years ago. They got their same quarterback back, and their running back is phenomenal. So it'll be a good measuring stick. It's a big game. There's no doubt about that. And we're looking forward to playing them. And I'll say this, we're glad to be back here in Atlanta. Anytime you get a chance to play in the same venue that your conference championship game is played in, I think it's very beneficial. And then the fact that, Auburn's just right down the road, and, we have a lot of alumni here in Atlanta. So, we really like playing here.
Go to the camera position on the right side, front row.
Coach, Jared talked about his journey from Baylor to JUCO to Auburn. What does that journey look like from your point of view?
We're glad he's at Auburn. At Baylor, I believe he played 4 games. He played at a high level. There was a lot of expectations and a lot of pressure on him coming in last year. Our offense grew, and then towards the middle of the year, I felt like we were really clicking. And most of it had to do with his leadership and the way he managed the offense. And the fact that he's got a year under his belt in this league gives us nothing but positives coming into this year offensively. And then Chip Lindsey is offensive coordinator. They got a great relationship. They've been together, in this league for a year in some huge games, and they know each other, how they're going to react. And I just think it's a real plus, having both those guys back for the second year.
Go over here to the section on the right, third row on the aisle.
Hey, Coach, your players described the LSU game last year as being kind of the lowest of the low, but it propelled them forward. What was the experience, I guess, like for you?
Yeah, well, they hit it on the head. It really was the lowest of the low. We were up 20-0, and we let that one slip away, and that was a very tough time. And it's one of those times that you either do one or two things. You fold your tent or you rally together. And our team chose to rally together. There was a lot of negative noise coming at us from a lot of different directions. They blocked it out. And they just took it one game at a time. And we played better ball each week. And then obviously the way that we ended the regular season, we were playing excellent football at that time. So real proud of the way that team handled adversity. I don't think there's a whole lot of teams that could have done that.
Over here, standing in the back on the right side.
Coach, 2 defensive players, Daniel Thomas and Marlon Davidson. Can you discuss their growth, their presence on the defense, and kind of what you expect from each of them this year?
Yeah, of course, Marlon, he started the last 2 years. He started as a true freshman, which is very rare, on defensive line up front for us, and he's an impact player. I mean, I feel like he's one of the best players in our league. Daniel is a guy that's like a heat-seeking missile. I mean, he's a great tackler, and I really feel great about him at the safety position. He's one of our better special teams players, and both of those young men are they're such fine character guys, and they're hard workers and just a joy to coach.
We'll go over here on the left side, standing in the back.
Here, Coach, right here. Coach, is there a position or positions that can benefit from this redshirt rule? And what would you like to see from Jared Stidham in the second year of the Auburn system?
I think all coaches are excited about the redshirt rule. Give us more flexibility. I think it's better for the players too. I think about injured players. We've got 2 receivers that tore ACLs. We'd like to get them back this year. We'll see where that goes, but that could be a possibility. And then I guess your last question was expectations for Jarrett. I really believe he's ready to take that next step as a leader, and I know he's hungry, and I'm glad that he's our quarterback.
We'll go back here, standing on the left side.
Christian Tutt, an early enrollee from high school. How has he been adjusting to the game so far?
Very, very good. He was here with us in the spring, like you said. He doesn't act like a freshman. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. In the spring game, he's covering Darius Slayton, one of the faster receivers in our league, and there was no fear. And I know that Coach Steele feels very good about him being in the mix, giving us depth. We think he's got a chance to be a very good football player for us.
We'll go standing back in the right on the back.
Coach, you've been talking about Jared as a leader. Is he, in such a short amount of time, is he the guy? I mean, is he the one leader that you would point to? Is the team his right now, do you think?
Well, I think so. you know, to win a championship in this league, you've got to have your quarterback as a leader and as a team leader. And I really feel like he's earned the respect of all his teammates with what he did last year and what he's done in the offseason. So I think our team's in good hands with him being our leader.
We'll go back here on the left side on the aisle, third row.
Coach, if you could comment real quick on C.J. Harris, a young man that was getting recruited to Auburn and obviously couldn't be a part of the team, just about his situation and how difficult is it to tell a young man like that that he can't play football due to medical reasons?
Yeah, well, that was, if I remember right, it was more NCAA, you know, as far as that goes, but wish him nothing but the best.
We'll go standing back here, or right there in the middle, camera position on the front row.
Right here, Coach. I guess there's been a lot of stories and things made of your BMW and your nice car. Yeah. What was your dream car when you were 16 years old? Was it always a sporty?
Well, I don't know. Old as I am, it may have just been an old school Corvette, something like that. You know, nowadays they got so many fancy cars and all that. But you know, I don't drive the I-8 much, but I know young players and recruits like it.
We'll go standing back here on the right side.
Coach, I asked Deshaun Davis about your coaching style. I told him we see the laid back side, but he said you're intense. How would you describe your coaching style?
Yeah, I think so. I think as a coach, you flip the switch, and most coaches are different in this type of environment as they are on the field. And you know, my biggest joy is when I'm out on that field with the players. I mean, that's the fun part of this job, and you know, getting to work with players, you know, trying to make them the best they possibly can be, and that's a real fun part of this job.
Over here to the left side on the front row, all the way to the left.
As more teams adopt a sort of running back by committee, why do you seem to prefer that lone workhorse?
Well, you know, last year, obviously, Cam Petway and Kerryon Johnson, we had two, and we primarily, if you'll look back, when we led the country, I think the only SEC team to ever do that in 2013, we really had two as far as that. And so that's really our plan. It's just the way it happened. You know, Kerryon was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year last year and unfortunately got hurt, you know, in that last game. But, you know, we have the formula that we feel good about. And this year, if Cam Martin would be the first guy out there if we started today, we've got a handful of about 4 or 5 guys that are competing for that spot also. But we'd like to have 2 guys, you know, going into you know, the first game that we feel good about.
We'll go down here on the front row to the left.
When you look back at your early college career as a first-year head coach at the collegiate level, what were some of the mistakes you made early on that you had to learn from?
My college career, I thought you were talking about playing there for a minute.
Coaching
like,
career,
wow.
no, at Arkansas
okay,
State and then here.
Coaching career, all right. Yeah, the first year at Arkansas State, being a head coach, I mean, anytime you're doing something new, you know, there's things that you're going to learn. And the experience, you know, probably as far as the football aspect, being a head coach in high school for 14 years, you know, there's a lot of things like game management and dealing with players and dealing with coaches and schemes that can carry over. The biggest difference in college is when you add everything that goes with it, with the recruiting piece, with the media piece and everything. But that high school background really helped me accelerate. But, you know, as far as Arkansas State, that was definitely, I learned some things. Man, it was a great experience for me, great players. And then getting a chance to be here in 2013 as a head coach. Now, the positive for me is I'd been here for 3 years before as a coordinator, so I had a really good idea as far as the atmosphere. I recruited a lot of those players, so it was an easy transition. But, you know, it's different now in 2018 being a head coach in this league than it was 2013. 2013, I could do a whole lot more X's and O's in football. It seems like each year from a head coach's standpoint, it gets a little bit more of a challenge to do all those things. It seems like each year the job description or the job grows just a little bit with everything that goes with it from a media, social media standpoint and all that.
We'll go standing back here on the right side.
Coach, we've seen you when you get upset on the sidelines like a lot of coaches do, understandably, and your eyes widen, you grab the headset, but you don't do a lot of cussing. You don't do any cussing. Why is that, and what are some of the words you might use instead of cussing?
You may want to ask my players that. I don't know. I use crud, and I've used crap every now and then, but I got to be really mad. You know, I don't know. I just think it's, you know, coming up a different way, the high school way. And, you know, in 1994, you know, I started looking at coaches as my ministry. And so I just felt like, you know, there was a couple high school coaches in the state of Arkansas that were Christian coaches that were very successful, and I just tried to model myself after a couple of those. And then when I got in college football, I just, you know, just wanted to make sure that this college football didn't change who I was. I wanted to be the same person that I was in high school, and sometimes that's challenging. There's no doubt about that, but that's just part of, from a coach's standpoint, we have great influence. I try my best to be a great example. I'm not always the best example, but I try really hard to be, because I know that, you know, coaches in my life, high school coaches, college coaches, really had great influence, and I tried to emulate, you know, some of the things they did and everything that goes with it. So it's just more of a philosophy, and I've been trying to do that since 1994.
Go over here on the left side to the back row in the middle.
Hey, Coach, I'm not sure how much you've been able to follow Jake Bentley's career from high school to now, but and also your impressions of his dad and what made you want to bring him in as part of your staff all those years ago.
Bobby Bentley is he's a big-time coach. He's an even better person. We've known each other for a long time. When he was at Burns High School and I was at Springdale High School, and we were playing 7-on-7s at Hoover, 7-on-7, and we just developed a good relationship, and just, you know, felt like he had a good chance of being a big-time coach in college. And, you know, when I first got here in 2013, I really tried to make an effort to get more good people in college football. And so he was one of the guys that I felt real strong about that could be successful, that would get in college football, make a difference in kids' lives in a positive way, take the business side out. And I'm very proud of him. He'll be a coordinator and a head coach in this league. I really believe that. And as far as his son, Jake, I mean, he's a phenomenal player, and very proud to watch him and his success.
We'll go to the camera platform on the middle, almost very back.
Coach, you've been at Auburn a bit now, and every other year your two biggest rivalry games are either at home or on the road. Do you go into a year where your two biggest games, I know it's a few months away, when they're on the road, do you have a different mentality going into that season? Do you have different thoughts at all? Just, I know it's a few months away, but any thoughts on that?
Well, when you look in the off season, your big picture schedule, obviously there's a little bit of strategy that goes with it, and then when you play on the road to any team in our league, you've got to look at it a little bit different. But when it happens to be your two rivals and you play them back to back, that's a huge challenge. But it is what it is, and you've got to figure out a way for your team to overcome that. And that's a huge challenge, and there's no doubt both those teams will probably be you know, in it towards the end, just like they were. They both happen to be our rival. Like I've said before, it would be great if we could split those up. I think if you really look at fairness and equity across the league, nobody else has to do that. But that's what schedule we've been given, and we understand it, and we've got to find a way to overcome it.
Got time for just a couple more. We'll go down here to the front row.
Coach, you mentioned that in the other room that it was your 30th wedding anniversary, and you went to Jerusalem. What else did you get your wife for the 30th?
Oh, I thought that was enough, you know. But no, we went to a U2 concert in Nashville a couple weeks before that. But you know, we took 9 days to go to Israel, and she's been wanting to do that for a while, and it was the best trip I've ever taken. It was really unbelievable. It really helps you put everything in perspective, big picture, and I would encourage, you know, everybody that hadn't went to go at least once.
Final question right here on the right side, second row.
Coach, can you talk about your offensive line? You've got some changes up there and some of the young guys you plan on rotating in.
Yeah, you know, that's probably the biggest key to our success this year is going to be our offensive line. I really believe that. We have some very talented guys up front, but it's just from an experience factor. I think we have 3 guys that have 20 starts between them. And that's probably the least, or one of the least, my 9 years at Auburn. So we do have talent. That's the positive. But how quick that group can come together in jail, they're going to have to grow up in a hurry. And I really feel like that's going to be a big key to our success offensively. J.B. Grimes coaching that group, like I said in the other room, I think he's the perfect match for that group. But the good thing is we're talented, but we just got to gel and grow up and get together.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.